Okay, so welcome everyone in today's Wednesday session. So in this session, we will talk about several topics. For example, you wanted me to talk about this topic, but I've already talked about this several times in previous sessions, but for the final and last time, I will go through this topic once more. And the topic will be the concatenations, on how to take concatenation trades, how to actually for example, take a flip entry after you've missed the first change of character entry, or how to take a break of structure concatenation entry, and how to take a higher time frame flip concatenation entry. For example, if price flips the 50-minute supply zone, and how can you actually trade based on that 50-minute flip, and what should you do, what should you pay attention for. So we'll talk about this at the beginning of the session. But before we start this topic, I want to talk about something, and I would draw yes or no here as usual. And the question is, do you want me to host a case study building session on this weekend? I mentioned this in the I know where in the live session channel in the Discord, that I want to host a case study building session for you, because it's really important to actually understand how to build a proper case study and how to pay attention for every single detail, and how to actually mark your charts up, etc., when you're building a case study. But I will consider this as a yes. So, but do you agree that if I'm hosting a case study building session, I won't host a backtesting session? So is it acceptable for you? So on this weekend, there will be a case study building session and not a backtesting session. Who's marking no? Okay, remove it, please. So the majority of you have voted for that's acceptable. So I will host a case study building session on this weekend. Please remove all for drawings. So let me just start the session. Or I will manually remove it myself. Thank you, guys. So once again, welcome everyone. Let's start the session with how to take concatenation trades. Okay, let's see the first and easiest example. For example, here's a 15-minute demand zone. Let me just change the color. Price is coming down. I'm drawing the 1-minute structure right now. So this is a 15-minute demand zone down here. Just for clarification, I will type it in here. So this is a 15-minute demand zone. Price is coming down, creating a bearish structure, and let's say our main structure is bullish. It's creating a series of higher highs, higher lows. Okay, so this is the 15-minute structure. This is the 15-minute structure, these backlines, and I will draw the 1-minute structure now with, for example, blue lines. Okay, so this is the 1-minute structure. Price is coming down, creating a series of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. What can we expect when price reaches above the 15-minute demand zone, and for example creates liquidity for this zone? What can we expect right here? I'm asking you.
Hold or break.
1-minute check.
Right now, 1-minute check here.
What's the topping of the higher time frame?
We can expect a liquidity sweep. Thank you, Kaizen. That's perfectly fine. We can expect a liquidity sweeping scenario into this supply zone. Demand zone. And after the top of this demand zone, we can expect a change of character changing entry to the upside. So let's say theoretically it happens. For example, price creates a liquidity right here, and it creates a fake change of character. So it creates a fake change of character to the upside. But we know that this isn't a change of character to the upside right here, because the 15-minute demand zone has not been tapped yet, and there's a liquidity just above the 15-minute zone. So let's say price taps this zone, sweeps the liquidity, sweeps all of the liquidity to the downside, and mitigates the 50% of this zone. So 50% mitigation for a 15-minute zone is perfectly fine. That's all we need to see. We just mark it here. So the 50% mitigation has happened. So after the 50% mitigation, we can start to look for long entries, right? So what are we aiming here for? We are aiming for a character changing entry to the upside, right? So for example, price changes character to the upside after mitigating this 15-minute POI. Price changes character to the upside with this movement. So V-shape recovery. There's a strong change of character because it breaks above several structural high points. So there will be a change of character on the low, and there will be a strong change of character on the high. So this movement will form demand zone, 1 minute demand zone, where you can enter, right? Let's say price creates a good entry criteria for this 1 minute demand zone. It creates liquidity, etc., etc. So there will be a good entry criteria for this demand zone. And price mitigates this demand zone, sweeps the liquidity, taps the 1 minute demand zone, the 50%. So you enter here. But let's say you can't enter here because your entry was a bit below than price actually touched this demand zone. So let's say it mitigated the 75% of this zone, and your entry was on the 50% of this zone. So you've missed this entry. Okay, what can you do in this case? Sorry. Okay. Once more here, stop loss TP. Okay, so what can you do in this case when you miss the entry by few pips, few pipettes? Don't panic. You can start to look for cancellation trades. And the question here is how to actually look for cancellation trades. Because if you miss this entry by 0.1 pipette, you don't want to keep this order here because this order block has been already mitigated. So this 1 minute order block has been already mitigated. Because for a 1 minute zone, any kind of mitigation is perfectly enough. Okay, so let's just go through this rule once again. So for a 50-minute zone slash a 4-hour zone, we need what kind of mitigation? I'm asking you. For a 50-minute slash 4-hour, exactly 50% slash higher. So we need at least a 50% mitigation to count these zones as mitigated. If the 50% mitigation or deeper mitigation doesn't happen for these zones, for the 50-minute or the 4-hour zone, then we can't really count those zones as mitigated zones. So we really need the 50% mitigation in order to count it as fully mitigated. If the 50% is not being mitigated, then it's not fully mitigated, then we can expect a deeper mitigation later. Okay. Second, for the 1 minute zones, what kind of mitigation do we need? For the 1 minute zone?
Any kind.
Any kind.
Thank you. Exactly. For the 1 minute zones, we need any kind of mitigation. So if 1% of the 1 minute zone is being mitigated, so for example, there's this zone, and the 1% of this zone is being mitigated, so it barely touches the top of this zone, then we can still count this as a mitigation because this is a 1 minute zone. And I've backtested this rule a lot and it works perfectly fine. So for 1 minute zone, we need a 1% at least mitigation. So basically any kind of mitigation. For a 50-minute slash 4-hour zone, we need at least a 50% mitigation to count it as fully mitigated. Okay, now that we cleared all of this.
Sorry, what about the 5 minutes?
5 minutes is the same as 15 minutes. So you have to treat the 15-minute zone as the 5-minute zone.
All right, thank you.
So here comes the question. What happens when you miss this entry? What happens? What can you do after you've missed this entry right here? Simple and easy. Look for cancellation trades. For example, the first cancellation type is when price creates a break or structure to the upside, right? So for example, this is the 1 minute structure. I even told you, this is the 1 minute structure. Price creates a break of structure here to the upside. There will be a break of structure, meaning there will be a new demand zone formed, for example, somewhere around here. Okay, for cancellations, you can't really put the direct entry limit order right here on this zone because there's still a chance that price will sweep this liquidity and reverse to the downside. Okay, let's check the criteria. Price has broke above this supply zone, so it isn't coming from an unmitigated supply zone, right? This is the #1 rule criteria for the cancellations. If price is coming from an unmitigated zone, if price taps into the opposite side zone, you can't open a cancellation trade. So if price steps into this supply zone up here, I will mark it as a supply zone. If price steps into this supply zone, then you can't open a cancellation trade based on this demand zone. You can't put a limit order entry on this demand zone, even if price creates a liquidity for this zone, because price is still coming from an unmitigated zone, and there's a chance that price will reverse to the downside and create an opposite side movement and go short. So you can't open a position, can't open a cancellation trade when price steps in opposite side zone. And I will tell it one more time, because I saw that lots of you guys are trying to open cancellation trades like this and saying that, okay, I'm trading the main trend and price has stepped in opposite side zone. Still, I don't care because I'm trading the main trend. No, you can't do this because this is a cancellation trade. This is a high risk trade. The reversals, so for example, the flip or the change of character at the 50-minute zone is the strongest trade, is the highest probability trade. But these cancellations are risk trades, riskier trades than usual. So you can't open a position when price steps on unmitigated opposite side zone. Clear? Did you understand this?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Marcel, and
And the reason about this, because when you mitigate this zone, the supply will take control. Yes.
Yes, of course. If price mitigates
This
the zone
why
and
it's
reverses,
dangerous. Okay.
exactly. If price reverses on the supply zone, then supply will be in control, so you can't trade the demand side of the market because supply is in control and you want to trade the controlling side. So if this scenario happens, you still have to wait for a change of character trade based on this 1 minute POI, because you want to confirm that demand is in control. So if price steps this zone, partly demand will be in control right here at this region on this movement. If price breaks above this line, breaks above this high point, then demand will fully be in control because demand took partly over control right here. If breaks this high, then demand fully be in control. And after the change of character right here, you'll be able to enter a demand trade right here. So basically, this is a type of continuation too, where you need a confirmation because price is coming from an unmitigated opposite side zone, where you need a confirmation on the 1 minute POI too. You need to confirm this 1 minute POI because you want to trade the controlling side of the market. And you can always wait for a confirmation. So if supply is in control, you can simply wait for a demand tap, simply wait for a confirmation and the continuation. And this, in this scenario, you will be safe to enter because you're trading the controlling side of the market. You always want to trade the controlling side of the market. Okay, so this is the first scenario. Did you understand the first scenario? Inside of the first scenario, we have two other scenarios. The first one, if price taps this zone, you wait for a confirmation, or you just simply wait for a tap of this zone and break a structure to the upside. So this is the first scenario. Let's see the second scenario, where price breaks above this unmitigated zone. So if price breaks above this unmitigated zone and the next unmitigated zone has not been tapped yet, then what can you do? And this is the swing high right here. This is the 15-minute swing high right here, because as you can see, these are the swing points. This is swing low, swing high, swing low, swing high, swing low, swing high. So this is a swing high point, which means this is a strong swing high point. Here comes the second continuation scenario. So if price breaks above this supply zone, this decisional supply zone, then what can you do? What can you do in this scenario? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do this. Second scenario. When price taps this zone. So the first scenario for this zone is when price comes down, wait for confirmation. This is the first scenario when price taps an opposite side zone. Second scenario when price taps an opposite side zone is when price creates a reversal to the downside, can tap this previous demand zone and creates a flip zone. Flips this 1 minute supply zone. And if it flips this 1 minute supply zone, then demand will be in control because demand came into the market. Let me just draw it with arrow movements. So demand came into the market and took over control right here at this region, where will be a demand zone, demand flip zone. So this is the first scenario for demand flip entries. I mean, any kind of flip entries. And this will be a 1 minute zone. So you'll be able to enter based on this 1 minute demand zone. So if a 1 minute supply is being flipped by a 1 minute demand zone, then you'll be able to enter on this demand zone. I mainly use limit orders when this kind of scenario happens and target the next recent unmitigated 15-minute zone. You can wait for a criteria like liquidity creation for this zone, which will make this trade even stronger. You can wait for a criteria like liquidity, but you can also go for a continuation without liquidity when price flips the zone, because a flip is stronger than just a breakout structure. This breakout structure trade, so sorry, let me just remove this. So this breakout structure trade right here requires liquidity for this zone, But the flip doesn't really require liquidity because it's much, much stronger than breakout structure. So confluences, you need a flip. You don't need liquidity for a flip zone, but liquidity is extra confirmation for the probability of the trade. So if liquidity is being confirmed right here, formed right here, then this will be a perfect 100% scenario setup because you had liquidity and the next recent zone below / above the liquidity will be able to hold and reverse price. So this is the second type of continuation. Let me just remove this. Based on the tap of the next recent unmitigated zone. So we have two scenarios where price comes down to this less recent demand zone, create a change of character continuation. Second, price flips this zone after a tap, demand continuation, 15-minute supply tap. These are the two scenarios. Third scenario where price breaks above this 1 minute supply zone. So this is the third scenario. Price breaks above this 1 minute supply zone. What can we do in this case? We have to wait for a liquidity creation for this zone. If price creates liquidity for this zone, then we'll be able to enter on this 1 minute demand zone because liquidity has been formed above the entry POI right here, here's liquidity. If this is being swept into this POI, then you'll be able to enter on this 1 minute POI with risk entry. So you don't have to wait for confirmation entry. You don't have to wait for a 1 minute change of character entry right here. You can simply use a risk entry because price has created a breakout structure to the upside. Price has created a breakout structure to the upside right here. Sorry, right here. It didn't have any unmitigated POI right here, created liquidity, and you're trading main trend. So in this case, in this third scenario, you can use a risk entry. Okay. Is it clear yet?
Yes, clear.
Yes,
Yes.
Just question, not question. I want to ask you guys to actually take notes. Okay. I don't know if you're taking notes right now or you will take notes after this session, but I want you to ask you to take notes because this is the last time I'm telling you about concatenations because I've explained this scenario so fucking many times and I want you to take notes. I want you to grab a note, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen and write it down. Write it down all of the scenarios. So just collect these scenarios, just know them, just learn them, just note them. Okay, guys, can you just do this for me? Because you'll learn so much faster if you take notes. Can you just do this for me, please?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm saying one more time that I won't talk about concatenations once more in my lifetime. Okay. So just memorize this and watch this session back if you have confusions about this concatenation scenarios. So let me just continue. Here comes the fourth scenario for the concatenations. When price steps, let me just remove all of these drawings a bit below. Fourth scenario, where price taps the 15-minute POI. So if price taps the 15-minute POI, so basically a swing high, or it doesn't have to be a swing high, it just have to be a 15-minute POI, then what can you do in this case? We have two scenarios for this case also. If price taps this POI, creates a reversal on this zone, and blues above this zone, what can we do in this scenario? The 15-minute strong high, I mean POI, the 15-minute swing high is being broken. Then, if the 15-minute POI, strong high, swing high, anything is being broken, then you have to mark a 15-minute zone out. There will be a 15-minute zone, and this is the perfect scenario for yesterday's trade, yesterday's price action, because the exact same thing happened yesterday. So price breaks above this 15-minute POI. What can we do in this case? We can wait for a body closure right here. So if this candle closes with body above this supply zone, then that will be a confirmation for the break of this zone. In this case, if price closes above with the body, then you can wait for a confirmation on this zone, this 15-minute zone. So I will even write it here that this is a 15-minute zone. So if this happens, you'll wait for a 1-minute confirmation inside of this zone. And if a 1-minute change of character happens here, you'll be entering a concatenation trade based on a 15-minute and 1-minute change of character. Okay, so this is the first scenario. Once again, price taps this 15-minute swing high, strong high, POI, anything, taps this zone, creates a reversal and flips this zone. If this candle closes above with body, so it will be a body closure right here, not just a wick closure, then you can wait for a tap of this 50-minute zone. And it's really, really important to mark a 50-minute zone out, not a 1-minute zone out, a 50-minute zone out. So you mark a 50-minute zone out, then you wait for a tap of this zone. You wait for a tap of this zone, then you enter in trade if change of character happens right here. One very important thing, you might see me to take 1-minute POI concatenations on the 50-minute zone. So I might mark out 1-minute POI right here, but you don't have to do that. Please, I'm asking you to only mark out 50-minute POIs when a 50-minute zone break happens. The reason I'm marking 1-minute POIs out, because I have a bit more experience in these trades, and I know how to actually choose the correct 1-minute OB or POI for this purpose. But right now for you, if you don't even know what concatenations are, you have to choose the 50-minute POI right away and wait for a confirmation on this 50-minute POI. And once you're getting better with the 50-minute POIs, once you're getting with the 50-minute taps, change of characters, concatenations, etc., then you'll be able to choose the 1-minute zone. And I won't tell you which zone will you choose. You have to figure it out for yourself. By experience, by chart time, by muscle memory, you'll know which zone to choose. But for now, I'm asking you to only choose the 50-minute POIs. Okay, understandable? I hope yes. Don't answer. Let me just continue. So the second scenario of this happens. Price creates another flip zone, reverses here, and breaks above this high point. If this break Doesn't happen with the body closure, and it only happens with a wick. So this candle right here is just a wick, and the body of this candle has closed somewhere around here. So it just wick the bow. Then you can still mark the zone out. You can still mark a 15-minute zone out right here at this case, and you can just simply wait for a continuation to the downside. You can wait for a flip of this zone, and this is exactly what happened yesterday. Remember this scenario? Price just wicks the bow. This 15-minute POI came down, didn't body break above this POI, but I marked the 15-minute POI right here. So this is still a 15-minute POI right here. I marked the 15-minute POI out. Price came down, mitigated this POI. I said I was expecting a break of this POI. I said I was expecting a continuation to the downside. So actually a supply to demand flip. Price tapped this 15-minute POI, reversed on it, created a flip of this zone. And this is a continuation to the downside. Because price couldn't break above this 15-minute POI right here with body closure. It just only broke above with wick closure, right? So it isn't a break of structure to the downside. So you can actually can't break of the last recent 15-minute zone. If this happens, then you'll be able to enter in a trade based on two scenarios. First scenario, you wait for a 15-minute zone creation. So let's say price taps this zone right here and creates a flip zone. First scenario, wait for a 15-minute zone creation, which I recommend you to do. So this is a 15-minute zone too. Wait for a 15-minute zone break, wait for continuation up to this zone, wait for a change of character right here. And based on that change of character entry, you can enter in this position. Because this 15-minute supply zone has flipped this 15-minute demand zone, you wait for a confirmation after the tap of this 15-minute supply zone. Confirmation right here happens, change of character, supply trade, enter in a trade, target the next recent 15-minute or 1-minute demand zone. If the tap of this demand zone happens, you just wait for a confirmation once again, and you can counter trade. I mean, not counter trade, you can follow the main trend once again. Okay, first scenario is this. So the first scenario of this demand breaking supply trade is to wait for a 15-minute supply tap, wait for a confirmation on this zone, and enter in a short trade. Second scenario, you mark a 1-minute zone out with really good criteria. So for example, really good criteria could be triple taps, liquid trend line, continuation break of structure to the downside, liquid split to the downside. So basically all of the criteria inside of the criteria tracker you need for this continuation type. But I really recommend you to only trade the 15-minute confirmations because that's what happened yesterday also. So as you saw, there was a perfect confirmation too. Of course, you missed the first risk entry. So you missed this type of entry yesterday. But there was a perfect continuation after this. So price has also created a flip zone right here. So you could enter in a trade. And I'm really recommending you to only trade based on confirmations, because why the fuck would you risk your capital? Why the fuck would you risk anything when you can simply wait for a confirmation? You guys, just believe me, this will protect you from several unnecessary losses. Okay, if you just wait for a confirmation every single fucking time, then your hit rate will actually increase a lot, because you don't have to risk shit. You can just simply wait for a confirmation every single time. Without a doubt, you can wait for a confirmation. That's why I was waiting for a confirmation yesterday on that 5-minute POI, because why the hell would I risk my capital when I can just simply wait for a confirmation of that zone? And if the confirmation happens, then I can simply enter in a trade with a good criteria, without any doubts, right? So you have to understand this. You don't have to hop in every single trade. You don't have to hop on every single character changing trade. You don't have to hop on every single 1-minute demand that you see or 1-minute supply that you see. You have to understand this, that markets aren't going anywhere, okay? Market will stay here. All you have to do is be patient. Stay patient until you find a good setup. Just stay patient until you find a good setup. For example, a good confirmation, character changing, POI, liquidity sweeping, etc. POI, setup. And if you find that setup, you enter on that setup, you set a limit order on that setup. And if you miss that setup, you don't go FOMO. You don't care about shit. You just stay calm and look for the next opportunity. And if that next opportunity doesn't come that day, you just simply wait for the other day. You just simply wait for tomorrow. And you come back with calm mind, calm head, with fully cleared mind, and you wait for another good confirmation. And if that confirmation doesn't happen that day also, you wait for the other day, you wait for the third day. And this goes on and on. You don't have to trade every single day. You don't have to trade every single opportunity. You want to trade the highest probability opportunities, because this is what this game is about. The success of a trader doesn't determine on how many trades is he opening or she. It determines about how patient he is / she is. Okay, guys, just understand this. Always wait for the best setup. Always wait for the best confirmation. If you are insecure about the POI, if you are insecure about any setup, any zone, you can just simply wait for confirmation. And this, if you truly understand this, and not just hear this, if you truly understand this, then your mental game, your trading game will change for sure. It will change for good, because you realize that why the fuck would I risk my capital when I can just simply wait for confirmation? And if you truly understand this, your mental game will fucking change for good. Believe me, this helped me a lot back then when I became profitable. This helped me a lot. That's why I'm even creating this mentorship. That's why I'm even creating this membership, this course, everything, because you have to understand this. Okay, guys, enough of this mental talk, enough of this psychological talk. Just continue with the continuations. But I believe we've talked about every single scenario that could happen right here. We talked about 5 scenarios, right? So this last scenario, in this last scenario, I recommend you to wait for a 15-minute zone tap once again. 15-minute zone tap, upside structure, tap of this zone, confirmation, entering trade, bam. This is all about basically just wait for confirmation. As you can see on every single trade, I'm telling you the highest probability. If the tap of this zone happens, you wait for confirmation here. If the tap of this zone happens and the flip happens, the confirmation has happened because the zone has been flipped, and you can enter here. If the break of this zone happens and no any other zone mitigation happens above the zone, so it reverses here, then you wait for a liquidity, a good confirmation, sweep, bam, it happens. If this scenario happens, so if the tap of this 15-minute zone happens and the break happens with body closure, you wait for a confirmation once again. If the break of this zone doesn't happen with body closure, you wait for a confirmation for this zone, for the zone break. It's all about confirmation. If you truly understand this, you'll be fucking unstoppable. Okay. So, question about the continuations and everything. Did you understand this? Was it understandable? Perfect. Okay. Can you show me on the chart which confirmation you were waiting yesterday? Yeah, just real quick. So see, here's the same scenario that I was explaining right now. Here was a zone. As you can see, the main trend is bullish because price is creating series of higher highs, higher lows. So in this scenario, price is bullish, creating series of higher highs, higher lows. Here was a supply zone. Here was a supply zone, and this supply zone has not been broken with body. As you can see, this supply zone has been only wicked above, but there was still a demand zone. There was a demand zone that has caused the last push to the upside, because this is an inside bar. As you can see, here was the last upside candle, inside bar. This candle is inside of the previous candle. Mute yourself, please. So this candle is inside of the previous candle, meaning this is a demand zone. If the top of this demand zone happens because there was no closure, body closure above the supply zone, then we can wait for a confirmation. If this tap happens, we can wait for a pullback, break, coming up, confirmation, continuation to this next recent demand zone. Basically, I was drawing up the exact same scenario in the educational topic. So as you can see, there was a 5-minute supply zone. So price, there was no body closure on the 15-minute chart. Price was stepping into this demand zone, tap of that demand zone, reversal on this rejection, couldn't create a new high. Instead of creating a new high, it just created a supply zone, which has caused the break of this demand zone with body closure, as you can see. So meaning this was a perfect supply zone. There was liquidity for this zone right here. First tap, second tap, third tap, liquidity. 1-minute chart. Let me just switch to the 1-minute chart. I was waiting for a tap of this zone. 50% mitigation of this 1-minute zone inside of the 5-minute zone. Liquidity sweep, tap, and I was waiting for a confirmation here. So for example, there's the last low. I was waiting for a change of character and reversal to the upside, and I was waiting for an entry right here. Because I always confirm my entries. I always use confirmation because that's the easiest way to trade. It will protect you from so many unnecessary losses. So that's the easiest way to trade. So there was the confirmation. I was waiting for a confirmation. Actually, the change of characters happened here, right here on this line, but the reversal didn't happen to the upside. So I had an order limit on this supply zone here. It has not been tapped, as you can see. So I deleted my order limit because price has created, the session has closed right here. So it was the end of the session for me. If the confirmation doesn't happen, then you skip trading, then you skip for the day. If the session is ending, then you skip for the day and you come back tomorrow, just like I did today, right? I'm here once again. I'm waiting for new confirmation entries. That's all. That's all. Okay. So quick top-down analysis. Top-down analysis. From the 4-hour chart. There's nothing much to explain about the 4-hour chart because there's literally nothing happening on the 4-hour chart. So as you can see, the 4-hour chart is a boring shit because basically, since this huge inefficient movement to the downside, nothing has really happened. Price is in a pullback phase up to some supply zone. This is insane information. Thank you for all values you're providing. Can you? Yeah. Of course, it will be uploaded and you'll be able to rewatch this. So as you can see on the 4-hour chart, nothing really happening. After the huge inefficient movement to the downside, price has tapped into a weekly low point. So this was a weekly low point. Price has reversed after tapping into a weekly low point and couldn't break below the weekly low point. Here was a change of character to the upside, but this was a weak change of character. So you can't really count this as a change of character because the trend is extremely bearish, as you can see. So you need at least a strong change of character to actually reverse price. So if the strong change of character happens, for example, price breaks above this supply zone, then I believe higher supply areas will be tapped because we need a strong change of character in order to reverse this extremely bearish trend. Okay, so price has reversed here, created the weak change of character on the 4-hour chart to the upside. After this, it stepped into this 50-minute POI, as you can see. But this 50-minute POI has created liquidity. Here's the first bottom, second, third bottom. So as you can see, all of these bottoms are leading down to this 50-minute POI, which will be shown on the 50-minute chart. Okay, as I sent you in the markups yesterday, there was liquidity on the upside too. So here's the downside liquidity, here's the upside liquidity. But right now, the part of the upside liquidity has been swept. Part of the upside liquidity, so from above this region, the liquidity has been swept, but more liquidity has been created, as you can see. So basically, a triple taps has been created on the top. First tap, second tap, third tap. So what is this? What do we call this?
Range.
Exactly. What do we know about ranges?
Sooner or later, both sides are swept.
What do we know about ranges, guys?
They will be swept on both sides.
Exactly. Thank you. There's a range on the 4-hour chart. This range will be swept sooner or later on both sides, right? So you can't really predict which side will be swept first and which will be swept second. But as I sent you in the as I sent you in the markups yesterday, I drew some previous examples for you. So please just take a look at that markup from yesterday. So if the sweep of this low happens, then we'll see the sweep of the high. Then after the sweep of the high, this supply will be tapped. Confirmation right here, continuation of the bearish scenario. If the sweep of the highs will happen first, then I believe the high sweep will happen, the low sweep will happen, and after this price will create change of character to the upside, and maybe we can see long scenarios to the upside to some higher supply areas, for example, this one or this one. But we can't really predict what will happen. All we have to do is wait for a clear sweep. All we have to do is wait for a clear confirmation. And basically, price action is shitty right now. As you can see, this is preparing for all of these price action movements are preparing for NFP and FOMC, because on this week, actually on today, there will be FOMC news, which will be untradeable. And I don't really recommend you to actually trade 30 minutes before FOMC or after FOMC, because that will be a huge mess. That will cause huge impact movements. So all of these ranges are preparing for the FOMC and NFP movements. So in this week, we'll see the sweep of this low and high. But basically, we have to wait for confirmation. That's all about the 4-hour chart. There's nothing much to say about the 4-hour chart. Basically, just take a look at yesterday's markups. The 4-hour markup today is the same as yesterday. Okay, 15-minute chart. What can we see on the 15-minute chart? Here was the week ago, right? What am I doing? Sorry, just a minute, guys. Okay. Just a minute. So, yesterday's movement. I've explained this already in this session. Here was a week about this supply zone. Price couldn't create a new high, couldn't sweep the liquidity. Instead of creating a new high, instead of creating a breakout structure right here, it has reversed on this demand zone down here, which I've been showing you 10 minutes ago. So price is reversed on this, created a flip zone, cancellation scenario, and cancellation to the downside. The next recent demand zone was here. This was the next recent demand zone that has caused this huge inversion movement to the upside, as you can see, and swept loads of liquidity from about this region. First step, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth step. This demand zone swept 6 steps of liquidity, swept loads of other liquidity to create a change of character on several places. For example, here, 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 created 3 change of characters on the 15-minute chart, but couldn't break above the swing high. So what can we expect in this scenario? We can expect the top of this demand zone. And as you can see, the top of this demand zone has happened. The top of this demand zone has perfectly happened. But inside of this demand zone, prices created liquidity. So there was liquidity. Here was liquidity. And seems like prices swept this liquidity to the downside with this movement, as you can see. Liquidity inside of this demand, sweep of the liquidity, change of character to the upside, long cancellations. But these long cancellations are really, really slow, as you can see. So these movements are slow as hell. So meaning there's not enough liquidity in the market to actually push price to higher price action regions. So it means that it's building up more liquidity, it's collecting more orders at this region, it's collecting more orders to sweep those orders. And if the sweep of those orders happen, and if the sweep of these orders happen, and for example, price steps this deeper demand area right here, then it will collect enough liquidity, it will collect enough stop losses to place new orders into the market. And if the new orders will be placed into the market, there will be enough impact, there will be enough fuel to actually push price to new price action regions on the upside, and the sweep of the upside range can happen. So I'm actually expecting this scenario. I'm expecting the sweep of the downside range first, then the upside range first. Because as you can see, price doesn't really have enough impact to create anything here. It's struggling to actually create any movement inside of this demand zone. It's literally struggling to create anything. So I'm expecting a sweep of this liquidity and this liquidity and top of this deeper demand area. But what can we do meanwhile, while the sweep happens? I'll be looking for short opportunities. To be honest, I'll be looking for short opportunities. So if, for example, some of supply zone tap happens, which was the strongest supply here? This is the extreme supply. So if the 50% mitigation of this supply happens, just a minute. If it happens, then I will look for short opportunities. So if price step this 50-minute supply zone and it can change character on the 1-minute chart, then I'll be looking for short opportunities down to this extreme demand zone. Let me just extend this zone. So if this happens, then I'll be looking for short opportunities down to this demand zone because the liquidity is lining up with your idea. Always pay attention to liquidity. Always find where the liquidity is. If there's liquidity, then the trade idea will be good. This liquidity has the purpose to actually fuel the movements. This liquidity has the purpose to fuel the movements, have the purpose to fuel the price. And if the sweep of this liquidity happens, this zone will be tapped and you'll be able to wait for a long confirmation to the upside. But since this happens, I'll be looking for short opportunities based on this supply zone. But if this supply zone can't give enough confirmation, can't create a change of character to the downside, I'll be looking for new supply zones, for example, like this on the upside. Because if this supply zone can't reverse price, then price needs more liquidity on the upside too. So it needs more liquidity from over this supply zone. And if the sweep of this supply zone happens and the tap of this supply zone happens, there will be a confirmation and cancellation to the downside. Everything is moved around liquidity. But if you're confused about liquidity, I've created several webinars about liquidity. Please just watch the pre-recorded webinars in the Telegram channel. Okay. So I keep these 2 supply zones up here. Basically, that's all about the 15-minute chart because the 15-minute chart is just the whole range right here, as you can see, and the 4-hour chart is just the whole range. So that's all we can say about the 15-minute chart. We have the plan. As you can see, we've built a narrative. And we have two narratives for this session. The first one, if price touches the supply, creates a change of character, cancellation to the downside to this demand zone. Second, if price breaks above this supply zone, and for example, if there will be a good confirmation right here, then I will look for short, long opportunities up to this supply. If the tap of this supply happens and confirmation happens, we look for shorts down to this demand and liquidity sweep. If the break of this supply happens, then we look for a long opportunity up to this supply, a liquidity sweep here. So we have a scenario, we have a plan for every single possible scenario for this session. All we have to do is follow these actions.
Hello, Marcel, but what's the directional bias, like the overall direction?
Right now, there's no direction.
Because of the range, right?
Yeah, basically, there's no direction. This is just a range. But the overall higher time frame direction is still bearish. Because if I just zoom out, you'll see that, just look at this. Just look at this.
Which means will be favorable with going shorts, right?
Sorry, once again.
Which means that every long trade will be what do you call it? A reverse
Counter trend.
Yeah, counter trend basically, sorry.
Right now at this price action region on the 50-minute chart, basically there's no counter or pro trend because it's ranging. But according to our plan, every single long opportunity will be a counter trend trade according to the 4-hour/daily structure. So taking any long opportunities right here at this region is considered as being a counter trend trade. But according to the 50-minute chart, there's no main trend because it's just ranging. So we need to see a clear sweep of any kind of liquidity and a clear decision of where price will head. Okay, so let me just grab a cup of water. Just a minute, guys. Okay, here I am. Let me just take a screenshot of this with arrow movements, because I will send this to the markup update channel, so you'll be able to see this. So this is the first scenario, when price taps this supply zone, creates a change of character to the downside. Second scenario, when price breaks over this supply zone, sweeps more liquidity and creates a downside movement to this demand zone. And the third scenario, price breaks over this supply zone and creates a long continuation to the upside. So these are the lining up scenarios. I will just mark it as a sweep also right here. Sweep on the bottom. And range. So it will be a reminder. Okay. Let me just send it to the Discord channel. Just a minute, guys. Okay. So here I am. Okay, let's continue the top analysis on the 5-minute chart, because that's all about the 50-minute chart. Do you have any questions about the 50-minute chart? I believe it was clear.
Everything good, thank you.
Everything good. Okay, so let's continue on the 5-minute chart. As you can see, there's no clear refinement of this 50-minute zone because this is just a mess also. But the 50% has not been mitigated yet, as you can see. But there's another supply zone right here inside of this supply zone, which is literally created nothing because this supply zone couldn't break structure to the downside here. As you can see, couldn't even change character to the downside, but created liquidity. But we can still consider this as a supply zone on the 5-minute chart. So let me just remove this higher supply, and this supply has been tapped, as you can see. This supply has been tapped, and the liquidity has been swept into this supply because there was liquidity, as you can see, first, second, third, fourth tap, and these 4 taps have been swept into this supply zone. Okay, what's happening right now? Actually, the character change movement on a 5-minute chart is happening, as you can see. So let me just mark it as a character changing movement to the downside, and meaning there will be a new supply zone on the 5-minute chart. This is a 5-minute supply zone. So what can we do in this scenario? We can wait for a tap of no. I'm asking you. I want you to repeat it. What can we do in this scenario?
Wait for confirmation on the zone.
Thank you.
Or 1 minute drop.
Thank you. Exactly. We can wait for a 1-minute confirmation on this zone, because if the confirmation doesn't happen, that's why you have to wait for confirmation, because if the confirmation doesn't happen, then price will reach for higher supply areas. What happens when price reach for higher supply areas? What can we do? What can we do if this scenario happens?
Waiting for
Continuation.
flip zone.
Again, yes? This scenario, right?
Yes.
So we have
Flip
planned
zone.
for every single 5-minute zone.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Marcel, but that's a lunchtime zone, like a lunchtime area.
Okay, but we can still wait for confirmation.
Well, I thought all zones in lunchtime are not valid.
Just watch the webinars about this, okay? I've created lots of webinars about this and recap videos, and it has a title of how to use lunchtime zones. So just watch that video, please, because it's in the recap videos. The title is something like how to correctly use lunchtime zones. So just watch it, please.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So these are the 2 scenarios lining up for us. As you can see, the pullback has already happened, and this was actually a strong change of character. Why is it a strong change of character? Because this was the hidden demand zone right here, last hidden demand zone. This has been changed, and this has been changed also. And more liquidity has been created. As you can see, this is part of the liquidity also, which means this is price has created more liquidity to fuel the short. So I'll be aiming for, actually, let me just remove this demand because it's annoying. What's that? What's that? I couldn't see. I don't know what you're meaning. Just write it down, please. Okay, so the possible scenario on the 5-minute chart is to wait for this zone to be tapped, wait for confirmation, and aim for longs. Short, sorry. The second scenario to wait for is to wait for the break of this zone, wait for a demand confirmation, and aim for longs. But I believe the short scenario will happen. Okay. Head and shoulder. Okay, yeah. There's a head and shoulder for, yeah. There's a head and shoulder. Perfect. Retail pattern. We go short. Okay, sell now, sell now. Guys, everyone just sell now because this is a clear head and shoulders. So here it is. As you can see, we have liquidity for this zone also. So perfect liquidity has been created for this zone also. Here's a liquidity for this 5-minute zone. And this 5-minute zone has created a change of character to the downside. But this change of character has happened in the lunchtime. So we can't really rely on this zone. And we might see the break of this zone. That's why we need a confirmation. If the break of this zone happens, then I recommend you to rather wait for another supply tap. So rather wait for another higher time frame supply tap, for example, this 15-minute zone, or for example, something below this, some kind of 5-minute zone somewhere around here, because I believe shorts have a higher probability to play out. Shorts have a much higher probability to play out than longs. So if the break of this zone happens, then wait for another supply confirmation. So if another supply is being tapped and there will be a change of character, you will be able to enter in a short trade. Because as I said, short trades has a much higher probability to play at than longs. And I'll be aiming for shorts in this session too. I will mainly aim for shorts. I won't really look for long opportunities in this session, just aim for shorts. But once again, for the final time, there's liquidity, as you can see. If the continuation will happen here, and the sweep will happen here, and the character changing movement will happen here, I'll be entering a trade. I'll be entering a trade right here based on the character changing movement right here. So basically that's all about the charts, because it's just ranging and can't really tell shit about the charts. But yeah, was it all clear? Let me just ask it once again.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you, Marcel.
Did you guys understand everything about the first question? Did you guys understand everything about the cantonations?
Yes.
That was quick. Did you guys understand what I was talking about in the price action section?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, thank you, Marcel.
Okay, perfect, guys.
Marcel,
It was a great session.
Marcel,
Yes, we don't have time for
Um,
questions because the session is opening, but just quick.
yeah. If the price retraces back from here to tap this zone, can we also wait for confirmation to take it down, or it should break the low before, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter. If there will be a change of character right here, that will be a change of character. If there will be a strong change of character, that will be a strong change of character. But
Yeah, okay.
if it's stronger, then of course it will be stronger to enter. It will be safer to enter.
Okay.
So these are the plans, guys. Thank you for being here at this session. I will send the markup updates if anything happens. I will send these 5-minute markups too, 5-minute and 15-minute markups to the markup update channel. So you'll be able to mark your zones out. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you for listening to me. And thank you for being part of this community. Love you all, guys. Wish you a beautiful day. Wish you a beautiful trading session. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you.